I'm calling to order the College Township Council Meeting of Thursday, September 4th, 2025. For those who can stand, I ask that you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, that takes us to public open discussion. I don't see anybody online. However, there is someone in the audience who would like to address council on something that's not already on tonight's agenda. Is that correct? Step on up, please.
Good evening, members of council. My name is Dan Materna, and I live in Walker Township. As you probably know, I'm not here to talk about chickens and backyards. Instead, I'm here to talk about the Happy Valley Casino that plans to open at the Nittany Mall in April 2026. Bottom line up front, in my opinion, the Happy Valley Casino will not be successful. It will struggle financially and it will close by 2028. Our casino opposition campaign in Center County has continuously battled the Nittany Mall Casino relentlessly over the past 4 years. As we know, Andrew Schaefer is the heartbeat of our casino opposition campaign. He single-handedly created the SayNoCasino.org website. It is unprecedented in our nation's history. Please take a look at SayNoCasino.org. Back in September 2020, Ira Lubert paid over $10 million just to be able to apply for the Category 4 slot machine license. He was confident his Happy Valley Casino would rake in accelerating casino revenue every month forever. After years of legal wranglings, the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board finally approved the issuance of the license. Residents of our community anticipated that those bright casino lights at the mall would be shining there for decades. But 5 years ago in 2020, the current exponentially increasing growth and popularity of online gambling was unheard of. Today, online gambling websites like FanDuel, BetMGM, and DraftKings have kicked brick-and-mortar casino revenue to the curb. Ira Lubert built his successful business career by making the right business decisions at the right time. But right now, he is hoping for the Gaming Control Board to approve a proposed framework agreement for Saratoga Casino Holdings in New York State to assume a 60% majority interest in the development and operation of the Happy Valley Casino. What casino developer does something like that more than 6 months before a casino's grand opening? The PA Gaming Control Board is now scrambling to determine if an out-of-state casino company based in New York is even eligible to hold a majority interest in a Pennsylvania Category 4 casino. That's especially true since that potential future owner has no existing casino license in Pennsylvania. Construction of the casino is now well underway. That bright blue construction fence quickly extinguished the hopes of our casino opposition campaign. It literally tossed ice water on our hope that our Happy Valley community could somehow stop the casino. Everyone agrees now there's no stopping the casino. At its grand opening in 2026, the ribbon cutting ceremony, replete with beaming smiles, will be viewed in Happy Valley as a convincing victory for the casino's developers. Not a single thought will be given to the unmentionable possibility that the grand opening could eventually be followed by financial failure and a business closure announcement. Supporters of the casino often mention The casino will bring new life to the struggling Nittany Mall. There are two reasons that won't happen. First, there will be no brand-new anchor stores opening at the mall because those 4 spots have already been taken. Second, no decision maker at any major retailer would choose to open their newest store in the dying Nittany Mall that is owned by Namdar Realty Group. Find and review Namdar's nationally well-known business model. Potential future tenants already have. The casino's planned 24/7 operating schedule will be quickly deemed to have been overly optimistic. Folks in Happy Valley have to go to work in the morning, so expect to see the casino floor nearly empty for 12 hours every day from 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. When the casino's eventual closure happens, its developers will then quickly realize that folks in central Pennsylvania don't get rich twice. If family finances are devastated by casino chaos, they don't bounce back ready for round 2. Casinos in large urban areas like Philadelphia or Pittsburgh can hope for lots of new gamblers who return often and gamble to extinction. Happy Valley residents are smart enough to not do the same thing over and over again while expecting a different result. Watch for the Happy Valley Casino's closure announcement before 2028 because nobody ever said the casino was going to be charming. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Sure thing.
Anybody else? Anything that's not on tonight's agenda? No? Looking again online? All right. That will conclude public open discussion. That'll take us to new agenda items. I'm looking here at the table. Council, any requests for?
No.
Okay. Anybody in the audience want to petition council to add an agenda item to tonight or a future meeting? Going once, twice? No requests? That'll move us on to special presentations, which we have none of tonight, which takes us to plans. Tonight we have one plan. P1 is the Penn State Bike Connection Relocation Sketch Plan. And I see that we have someone from OPP here. Did we have any words from staff first?
Sure, I'd just like to note that the Planning Commission saw this Tuesday night. Some of their questions were, what type of surface will be on the path? Will there be winter maintenance? Will motorized bikes be permitted? Can gates be established to note that, use at your own risk if there is no winter maintenance? And they discussed lighting, if there will be lighting on the path. So.
Okay, so those were the questions asked. Were they answered?
Yeah, I guess they were. They wanted to be sure that, council heard those and that we do provide their notes and questions to Penn State.
Okay, so we'll get the answers, I guess, tonight. And just a quick question from staff. This is a sketch plan, which assumes we will at some point see a preliminary and/or final land development plan. So this clearly trips the threshold, even though it's just is it the master plan?
Yeah.
Why are we seeing it?
Well, it will come in as a preliminary final land development plan, and Penn State just wants to get your input because we have told them in the past that sketch plans are usually pretty.
No, I understand that.
Oh,
I just
okay.
wondered what element of the plan trips the threshold for land development plan? Just a bike path?
Change to traffic pattern as well as
Primarily it, yeah.
Okay.
area of disturbance.
Okay, that's something we can focus on in the discussion. All right, thank you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Rich Manning with Penn State Design and Engineering Services. As you know, we've met a couple times with staff, but due to the development to the west of Innovation Park, the future restricted area that's shown in red here on the screen will close off the existing 20-foot gravel access and the 8-foot wide paved bike path into Innovation Park from Farm Services Road. So as discussed with staff, this will require a land development plan, which we would like to submit probably in the relatively near future, but we wanted to solicit input on the sketch plan ideas after meeting with staff to get your thoughts. So essentially what we're proposing is to relocate the existing bike path, have a 12-foot wide new gravel access that will connect Farm Services Road, shown in yellow. We've had the Penn State arborist out to identify tree groves of special significance that we'd like to avoid, along with closed depressions that are throughout this area that we're going to attempt to minimize any impact on as well. So the intended schedule of this is to go ahead and submit preliminary final land development plans here this fall and go to construction here this spring, pending approvals, pending NPDS permit, et cetera, along those lines. So what I'd like to gain from this is whatever comments you may have as council, concerns that you may have, and answer any questions you may have. As Lindsay had pointed out, there were questions about gated access, which we're proposing to have gated access to limit vehicular access. The intent is for pedestrian, bicycle. There will be small landscape vehicle access to maintain Innovation Park as well. So the intent is to have a 6-foot wide open gate to allow for that access. As well, the intent is to have the path maintained as it currently is, which is no permanent winter maintenance, no lighting on the path, and I think that's about it. I'll open it up to any questions that you may have.
Sure. Anything else from staff? No?
Yeah, there will be 8 times, from what Penn State has told us, 8 times a year, there will be a bus that travels from Innovation Park to the stadium.
Yeah, so this gravel access is used during football, for football access from Innovation Park. It's again gated to restrict that, but there'll be, I believe the president's tailgate is often held at Innovation Park, so they'll be utilized for that. Is the only time, to my knowledge, that the gates are intended to be open.
Okay. So we all know what our role is on a sketch plan. So if there's no further staff comments, I'm going to start with Dustin. Questions, comments?
Yeah, I don't think I really have any comments or questions at this point. It seems pretty straightforward. Oh wait, I did have one. The general grade of that area, right? Is it like steepness, things like that, slopes?
Relatively moderate slopes.
Yeah.
I don't expect anything over 4 or 5%. We have done preliminary vertical grading on it as well as horizontal too, and it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay. Tracy?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, like, your timing of construction. We know around here, like, a lot of construction goes on. So I was just wondering, when you're thinking about the timing to do the construction, are you thinking it will be after campus closes for the spring, and like with other projects that are going on in the surrounding areas? Like, how are you planning to time that?
So I believe that the intent will be, obviously, we need an NPDS permit. It's right around the acre threshold.
Okay.
So that will require permitting. It needs to be completed from the university standpoint by August 2026.
2026, okay.
The intent is to start it to allow that to happen. We're not looking for earth disturbance in the wintertime just due to issues with subgrade, et cetera.
Right, okay.
So it's intended from June through August.
Okay, and then just lastly, like the proposed stormwater management approach, does it meet our requirement for College Township, given that it's less than like an acre?
Yeah, it certainly will go through the College Township process and be reviewed. The great majority of this area, probably 95% of it, remains within that site. There's a lot of closed depressions. It's a relatively minor increase in impervious coverage, given that it's 12 feet, wide impervious, and there's some amount of the existing bike path that'll be removed to offset that. But
Okay.
it's what I expect to be a relatively minor stormwater impact.
Okay, sounds good, thank you. That's all I have.
Yep, going over to this side, Susan,
Nothing for me, thank you.
how about Rich?
The only question I had, so you're replacing a paved bike route and a gravel path and putting in a gravel. Is there any future consideration for getting back to the paved for the bike route?
Not to my knowledge. Again, we're at the sketch plan stage, so I would solicit your input and comments in regards to that. But as to my knowledge, from the university standpoint, we're looking at putting back a gravel. To some extent, we may look at the center of that gravel as being some ability to affect and benefit stormwater. But if you have comments related to that, I'd be happy to hear them.
I guess that would be one consideration for improving in the future to get back to the bike route.
Mr. Chair, quick follow-up in a related vein. To the best of your knowledge, there is not anticipated future relocation of this bike path that we're reviewing tonight.
No, we have vetted out this location, and in a couple of discussions, we've had a couple different iterations that were presented to staff. One of them was not connecting to Innovation Boulevard. We've looked at some of the restricted area and looked at how we think this best connects to Innovation Boulevard and expect that this will be the final location.
Okay, anything else from staff? Tracy?
Just one more question. To Richard's question about you're replacing partial paved and gravel to gravel, does this, and pardon my ignorance if it's not a good question, but does this comply with ADA accommodations? As far as like the gate and the restrictions and everything, will it be considered so that people that aren't necessarily using motorized vehicles, or maybe they have a wheelchair or a walker or something like that, that might be using that path, will they be okay using that path as gravel?
So to the best of my knowledge,
Yeah.
and again, I have not in depth looked at the vertical, although I believe it's less than 5%. So anything less than 5% is considered an accessible walkway. I believe that it would meet that criteria.
Okay.
Down at the connection to farm services, and in that kind of that lower western portion, what the existing grade is out there is, we may be limited to that. But and a gravel surface that's maintained, to the best of my knowledge, actually does meet ADA accessibility as well.
Thank you.
Mike?
Rich, just a sidebar question that Dawn and I were having. In terms of your surfacing, are you thinking of using like a trail surface aggregate or some fine compacted as opposed to going to paving?
We've had preliminary discussions, and that's all we've had, whether it's a DSA or a TSA. Certainly a travel surface aggregate, I think we've had discussions to have that, and I think the slopes are relatively small, that it should hold up well, but that's something that we're looking at.
Thanks.
Okay. I recall when we reviewed the master plan update, we got a heads up that the current connection was going to go away, obviously. So it's encouraging to see that it's being continued, albeit replaced or rerouted. So from that standpoint, I think there'd be universal support that the project move forward. That would be one comment. I think what we heard, there certainly seemed to be at least interest, if not support, for some a different surface, whether it's the aggregate, what is that? That's the compressed
TSA.
gravel that
Yeah,
still
it's
is
in its
impervious.
ADA compliant, the TSA, and I believe even the DSA is ADA
And
compliant.
it's still considered impervious for storm.
For the most part, yes.
I mean, practicality, it isn't that, but it's considered
Yeah,
that.
it's close, yeah.
Okay, so I think, I heard from Rich, there seems to be at least interest from staff also in considering that. And of course, accessibility. So if the grade meets accessibility, it seems as though that surface change would could potentially enhance accessibility. Because I think, circling back to what I said before, I think anything that maintains a pedestrian and bike connection between the main campus and Innovation Park is good for everybody. So we certainly support that effort. I think you heard tonight maybe some areas you could go back and have some discussion with folks. And then one last question. Do you happen to know if there's a spin bike station in Innovation Park?
I do not.
Because the first thing I thought about is, you know, the popularity of spin bike. And I know that's not your department, but it might be something to bring up
Certainly.
concurrent with the building and opening of this. It seems practical. Anything else before we let Rich go? So as always, we do appreciate the opportunity to chime in. I'm sure Planning Commission does too on sketch plans. So we appreciate you taking the time and making the effort to hear us out, and look forward to seeing you back here with a preliminary.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Thanks, Rich.
All right, that's the only plan we had for tonight. That takes us to reports. First report of the four is our manager's update. There's one bolded update from 2 weeks ago. Does the manager have anything to add in addition to that?
Actually, I don't. I'll allow our planning commission representative to report out actions and activities related to Dale Summit form-based code. So I have no additional comments to make on any of the items that are on the manager's update, but if there are any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those.
All right, looking around the table, questions for Adam? Rich?
Just, is there any sight of solar power purchasing when it's going to come back for action or activity? I mean, we're pushing a month now.
Yeah, well, actually,
Since the last
it's a
comment.
good question. We did get documents back from Prospect 14, and coinciding with that, some of the invoices for consulting work by Green Sky have been received, but beyond that, there hasn't been any additional activity. So unless, Mike, you know something else.
No, I think we're in a bit of a holding pattern at the moment. So.
Similar question on the facility renovations, because you were running a tight timeline. Are we still tracking for that?
Yeah, I'll jump on that one.
Please.
We have received from them the space analysis, at least in terms of overall square footage. The anticipation is sometime here in the next probably 2 weeks that we'll start seeing some conceptual design. And I know that Adam and I have had that discussion. At that point, we'd like to have a discussion with council to get that first look, first reaction to what's being proposed there. So we're anticipating that here mid-month, mid to late month.
Thank you.
Other questions for the manager? No? All right, that concludes the manager's report. That takes us to item B under reports, COG regional, county, and liaison reports. We can start with COG reports. By my calendar, we had 4 COG committee meetings since our last council meeting. The first one would have been the Park and Recreation's Governance Committee meeting. on August 27th. Did that happen, Rich?
Yes, it did. We received a quick look at draft comments, or comments on the draft agreement. Got a feel for where concerns might be. We don't officially get those back till September 19th, but it was nice to get some visibility on where that's headed. Then we moved into, we saw our first draft of amended bylaws for the authority. Had some discussion on that, offered our first take on that. It'll come back next meeting. And we also reviewed a draft memorandum of understanding between the agency and the municipalities for the parks that are under their maintenance program. That's coming back as well. So nothing more. It'll follow the same path, somewhat of the same path. The only one that can modify the bylaws of the authority is the authority. So we would push our recommendations out to them, and they would review those and take action as appropriate. The memorandum of understandings, I'm sure it's going to hit the managers first, and then we'll see it at some point in here.
Some would say as it should.
Some would.
Some wouldn't. Some would.
It works. So they offer a technical review of it that is very helpful to get straight. And then, but at the end of the day, the elected officials need to opine in on whether we're actually going to do that. So that's all we had for that meeting.
All right. Questions for Rich? Dustin, is that a question?
No.
Nobody? Thanks, Rich. You're still up because according to my calendar, facilities was the next meeting.
Well, unfortunately, we had to cancel the morning of the meeting due to lack of quorum.
Okay. Well, then that would take us to our COG HR committee, which was scheduled to meet a couple days ago on the 3rd. Did they meet?
They did, but there was technical difficulties, so I was not able to get on. I had the wrong Zoom link, so
Okay.
I apologize.
All right. Well, we'll catch up on that next month then. Then the last one I have by my calendar was Lucy, which was actually earlier today. Did they meet?
That was canceled.
That was canceled.
Yeah.
Oh, a lean month for COG, or lean meeting.
I just double checked to make sure I didn't miss it. Yeah, it was canceled.
All right. That would take us to any other liaison reports. Do we have anything else, liaison members to any of the other committees? If not, then that'll take us to the third item under reports, which is staff, PC, and other committee reports. I know we have our PC rep here tonight, Matt. And of course, then Janet.
Yeah, we met Tuesday night and we heard the bike plan. We also got into a little bit of green space concerning the form-based code. Pretty much just started out information. The bulk of our time we spent discussing parking. Pretty easy to come up with a consensus on the residential parking, the mixed neighborhood. The bulk of our conversation was the mixed core, which is sort of the commercial, retail, all the changes over the last years. I mean, I was a career, my bulk of my career was at Nittany Mall. I'm not there anymore. So trying to look into the future is pretty tough from office buildings, commercial, all that stuff. We started out with the mixed core of a minimum of a half a parking space per 1,000 square feet with a maximum of 3 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet. We sort of somewhat quickly came to a consensus that maybe the 0.5 is a little bit too low. So we sort of thought maybe 1 would be more appropriate. As far as the max, we had a long discussion about the retailers, and we have some people with quite a bit of experience, retailers and the peak shopping times. There were some people who said maybe we should go 4 parking spaces. We had somebody in our commission look up, and apparently they're recommending 5 to 10. Even maybe we don't put a limit on it at all. So we really struggled a little bit to come up with that last number. That's about what I have. If anybody has any questions?
No, I appreciate the effort before I turn it over to anybody else. That's probably going to be a tough nut to crack. Every retailer that I know wants to put enough parking for Black Friday, so the thing is, then we have that asphalt the other 364 days.
25 years of Black Friday here. I remember the 5 a.m. fighting over the Furbies at Baby Toys. So, yeah.
So that's tough. Anything for Matt?
No, I think the other parking lots are expensive. So generally, they don't put any more than they absolutely feel they have to. But some of them feel that it's similar to building everything in State College for 7 Saturdays a year and everything. So it's
sort of tough to look, looking into the future in Dale Summit and even deciding what size business is going to come in there.
Right.
Is sort of difficult.
Yeah, crystal ball kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Susan, anything?
I didn't get a chance to watch the meeting, but you're discussing, the impact of online shopping with retail shopping as well?
Yeah.
And how do you predict, you just talked about trying to look into the future, and that's a tough one, isn't it? Because people want to have that real-life shopping experience, but yet they want the convenience of online shopping. So it's a tough one to predict, isn't it?
Very tough.
Tracy or Dustin? All right. I think that's all we have for you, Matt.
Again, I feel qualified in saying this. I'm a volunteer for the County Office of Aging. This is sort of for you, Susan, but there's 2 elderly ladies sitting at the senior center, and the one says, the other said, "Do you hear about that new practitioner working with Dr. Smith, who's my Dr. Trevor Smith?" And I said, "Yeah, actually, my daughter made an appointment for me next week." So next week happens, and the daughter takes her in, and she sort of walks in, and she's a little bit bent over with a cane, and her head's down. In about 10 or 15 minutes, she comes out, and she's straight up walking, her head's up, and walking a lot faster than she went in. And her daughter says, "Well, boy, what happened to her? That was a miracle." And she said, "Well, she gave me a longer cane."
That was absolutely a nurse practitioner.
Thanks, Matt. Always appreciated. If I haven't missed any other committee reports?
Yeah, we probably should mention the 150.
150?
Yeah.
Yeah, who wants to go? Me? Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, so the Soup and Song is scheduled for the 19th of September at 17:30 or 5:30 p.m. for those of you who don't do 24-hour time. So that's at the Lamont Village Green. If anybody else has any other updates or details.
Are we supposed to pre-order our soups?
Yeah, you can. There's a pre-sign up, and I think that's online, right? Yeah.
It's not
So
required, though.
it's encouraged, especially if you plan on eating a lot of soup.
I have family coming into town. We're going to eat a lot of soup.
We're just trying to gauge how much to order.
Yeah.
And so we have to have our order turned in by Tuesday next week, so, and it's Harrison's.
Yep. It's good soup.
Yeah.
And you've made arrangements for nice weather?
Fingers
That's
crossed.
Sue's department, right?
Okay, that's right.
But the soup will still happen regardless, because that'll be in the granary. So that maybe the song doesn't, happen because of weather, but unless it's really bad weather, it's gonna happen
Yes.
soup-wise.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
It is relevant, but not relevant, but some of the things that we did for the 150th, is it some way that we can incorporate some of these things moving forward? Can you hear me?
Just making sure they could hear you.
Yeah, like we didn't get to do like the bonfire, but that would be just like community building. Like, is there some way we can, or staff can think of?
I mean, those are things, I think we've had some success. I mean, we certainly had, I think we've had 2 successful events. One was weathered out back in February, which was the bonfire.
Yeah.
But between the barn dance and the Spikes Night, those are both very successful. And I'm anticipating the same for the Soup and Song as well. And I think that is certainly a possibility, and, subject to how we budget in the upcoming year, I think that those things could be incorporated, or even others, so.
Yeah.
And if I can add, we have the 250th is next year.
That's true.
So,
Yeah, US 250.
correct.
No. Well, I was confused to say.
Wow, that was quick.
Sorry.
You're on another committee.
I think we would have aged out for that one.
So actually, there's two ABCs that you'll be up for, right? Now, that's the second one?
That's right. Very good.
All right. Anything else? Any other? If not, I'm going to move to Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Report. First, we'd like to hear from staff, and then we give the public an opportunity to address staff or address council on any DEIB issues.
Sure. As is my approach, beginning of the month, I like to highlight month-long observances. September's National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, National Hispanic Heritage Month, that's September 15th to October 15th, and it's also World Alzheimer's Month. Days and holidays coming up, World Suicide Prevention Day is actually next week, Wednesday, September 10th. And I also wanted to just call your attention quickly to an item that's in the consent agenda. CA2D is an invitation from Out of the Cold, Center County, to their annual Rooted in Hope dinner on Monday, October 6th. That's an event that they do. It's obviously a fundraiser, but also an event that honors the progress being made in addressing homelessness and housing insecurity in Center County. And as I noted, it's also a fundraiser for them for providing shelter, essential services, and pathways to independence to their guests. That's all I have.
All right. Questions for Mike? Council? Anyone in the room like to address council on any DEIB issues? Concerns? We don't have anybody online, do we? No. Okay. All right. That concludes reports. Takes us to consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda consists of one set, under CA1, consists of one set of minutes, which is the August 21st, 2025 College Township Council regular meeting minutes. CA2, correspondence, includes 6 pieces of correspondence. CA2A is the 2026 State College SCWC budget. CA2B is the Mid-State Literacy Council Spelling Bee contribution. CA2C is an email from Dan Materna dated August 27th, 2025 regarding the casino. CA2D is an email from Out of the Cold dated August 28th, 2025 regarding Rooted in Hope dinner. CA2E is a letter from Center County Office of Adult Services dated August 18th, 2025 regarding Point in Time Initiative. And CA2F is an email from Dan Materna dated August 29th, 2025 regarding a casino. The third section under our consent agenda includes 8 action items. CA3A is a traffic signal bid, College at Decibel and College at Shiloh. Those are 2 different intersections. CA2B is a resolution R-25-19, deeded dedication, Farm Hill Drive. CA3C is resolution R-25-20, parking prohibited, Farm Hill Drive. CA3D is resolution R-25-21, speed limits, Farm Hill Drive. CA3E is resolution R-25-22, deed of dedication, Sunhaven Lane. CA3F is resolution R-25-23, parking prohibited, Sunhaven Lane. CA3G is resolution R-25-24, speed limits, Sunhaven Lane. And lastly is CA3H, resolution R-25-25, stop intersection, Sunhaven Lane and Farm Hill Drive. So would anybody like to pull any of those items for further discussion before I accept the motion to accept the consent agenda?
CA2A.
All right, we're going to pull CA2A. Any other items? All right, if that's it, then the chair will accept the motion to accept and approve then.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Comments from the audience? All in favor of accepting the consent agenda minus CA2A as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. CA2A, 2026 SCWC budget.
Yeah, really, I just wanted to pull the request that we bring it back as just a separate agenda item. to allow both, Lee Murphy and even if there are, as it indicates, other members that want to talk to it, to speak to that specifically to us on the agenda item, since it is a budgetary thing. That's all.
All right. Do we have, anybody have any questions, comments? No?
Yeah,
Scott?
as this is a letter that basically presents the Spring Creek Watershed Commission budget for 2026, and given the request that's on the floor, I would recommend that we don't include this as part of our action items as far as receipt, as typically that denotes approval. And if it's come back up as a regular agenda item at council, there'll be ample opportunity to take necessary action in the future. So, Mr. Chair, I think as you entertain this potential motion or potential tabling almost, if you will, of this item, you may want to take that into consideration.
Okay, since it's not an agenda item, it's a sub-agenda item, I guess, do we actually have to go through the formal exercise of tabling it?
No, I don't think you
If
need
we
to do
don't just
that.
adopt it, doesn't that
Yeah.
cover us?
Maybe I had a wrong understanding of the consent agenda, but we're just acknowledging we're receiving the correspondence.
That's why I try to make it a point to
Well, you are
say.
right, because it's not in the action items.
Right,
of the
right, right.
consent agenda, so I stand corrected, yes, sorry,
Yeah.
got ahead of myself.
So, yeah, as far as it's written, it's just receipt of the correspondence at this point.
Yeah, if it'd been under
For the
action, then
agenda.
yeah, I agree. We shouldn't, but.
All right. So we're done with the consent agenda, and we'll likely see Watershed Commission issue as a regular agenda item.
Probably
Yeah,
is.
I would just ask staff to coordinate that. I mean, we had some correspondence with Lee, based on this, and he wasn't able to attend tonight to speak to it, but I don't know if, and it had indicated some other members were going to reach out, but that hadn't happened either, right,
I
Adam?
don't believe so, no.
So,
Should we officially accept the correspondence so that staff can take that action?
yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah,
Move to approve CA2A.
okay. Accept CA2A. Approve accepting CA2A, correct?
Oh, I thought we approved all but, and so now,
You're right, you're right.
okay.
Yeah. All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I sense no comment. Then all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. CA2A is officially accepted.
Mr. Chair, one question if I could.
Sure.
So, Mr. Materna references on some of the stuff, in particular, we haven't done any updates on our website on the casino stuff. Is any of the stuff that we've gotten recently, we've distinguished what goes on there, but is the court stuff website worthy or?
Yeah, we had a kind of a catch-all on their 4 court-oriented elements. To that point, I appreciate Dan raising that. It probably does merit an evaluation to make sure we haven't missed anything of relevance, so we'll do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. That concludes his consent agenda. Takes us to old business. Tonight we have one old business item, single-use plastics for discussion and potentially action. I see the memo in tonight's packet is from Mike, so before we consider any action, I'll turn it over to Mike.
Sure. So last you heard about single-use plastics back in June. We talked about general framework around a potential ordinance. Tonight is a reflection of a move in the discussions at the work group towards engagement strategy. Let me preface it as saying there's a little bit of a distinction here. So we went from talking about a concept, and this is starting to move us towards implementation. This, depending on how council moves on this, it may provide that signal that you're all in and want to be involved at least initially to continue moving this forward. So I just wanted to note that we're moving away from concept now of an ordinance and starting to move towards the potential of an implementation. That said, what's in front of you tonight is kind of a summary of the discussions around strategy and surveying. The single-use plastics group has envisioned a strategy that includes development of a project website that's kind of viewed as an information clearinghouse, would be hosted by State College Borough and take advantage of their Zen City Engage platform. It envisions public open house events to discuss what the potential is around single-use plastics regulation, public presentations to the designated boards and councils and commissions, a business survey, and then also utilization of a technical advisory committee. All of those are kind of outlined in the two attachments. The first being the single-use plastics public engagement strategy, and the second being a single-use plastics business survey earmarked specific to College Township. Do want to note, those were prepared by our friends at State College Borough, their staff. They are working documents. They're really looking for your feedback on those, on the overall strategy and the potential questions in the survey as well. And again, as noted by Mr. Chair, Council, what we're looking for ultimately is you to review and provide input to the single-use plastics work group on the draft engagement strategy and business survey. And again, just denoting this is starting to move us into a little bit more into implementation. So as you're kind of walking through this discussion tonight, keep that in mind. So that's what I have for now. I'm happy to answer questions.
All right, before we do that, just to reiterate what Mike's last point, should we be comfortable with the way this is drafted, we should understand that it will likely move forward as is. And in past discussions about this, I thought we were all kind of philosophically in support of the concept of trying to minimize or eliminate that. Our concern was the role we would play in the staff commitment for something that we weren't sure how effective it would be. So just keep that in mind. If we're fine with most of the way it's written, maybe we could ping staff on what the anticipated staff resource commitment would be, should everybody be happy and be moving forward with it as drafted and constructed.
One last point to add before you begin discussion. I know our partners on this are anxious to get started with engagement. So tentatively, they're targeting here later this fall or early winter to start into the engagement. So just giving you that time frame as well. So.
All right. Then instead of going around the table individually, does anyone have any comments, concerns, suggestions on the first part, other than the fact that they should notice as a council and not supervisors? Just housekeeping. Anyone on the first part? We'll tackle that. All right. How about then the actual survey, the draft survey itself? Anything that staff might have thought, anything that raised any red flags or interest with staff, particularly Mike, as you went through this?
One additional note as we kind of move into the survey. Right now, it's anticipated, and this gets into your other question, Eric. Should this engagement process move forward, the surveying is envisioned to be undertaken municipality by municipality. So that's where some of the staff time starts to evolve. Currently, it's been pretty nominal, and that's been basically at your direction to keep staff time fairly limited and not being kind of the point on this initiative. This step, if we do move into engagement, you see staff time ramp up fairly significantly, at least initially. I think you would see a spike from my time in terms of the engagement process. And then if we do ultimately culminate in a proposed ordinance that gets passed, then you see kind of a consistent level of staff time helping with education and enforcement, which would probably most likely entail more education. And that would be some combination of staff, most likely myself, Mark, Frank would have some involvement as we move towards enforcement. So kind of dipping the toe in the water for that discussion as well. So.
All right, then to put you on the spot, the way we anticipate, if nothing changes, the way that we would anticipate this reaching that point, any crystal ball idea as to the level of staff commitment, and I guess more importantly, whatever level it is, we have the bandwidth within the departments it would fall to?
Assuming that there's an ultimate adoption of an ordinance?
Yes.
Yeah, at that point, again, I think that simply becomes assumed within the working day activities of the people that Mike mentioned. I think there will be questions to the zoning officer, there will be general questions amongst them to a variety of our staff, and to the manager, and we'll be answering questions primarily. Again, depending upon how the ordinance is ultimately written, what ultimately the enforcement activities or actions might be, this could very much be a relatively hands-off, but for the education component initiative, as far as staff time is concerned. I mean, you've been in attendance at most of those meetings. I'm assuming that that's generally what you have walked away with.
Yeah, where it seems to be headed, at least initially, going back to that conceptual framework, I would agree with Adam. Once you get through the engagement, that's where I would think you would see your peak. And depending on how the community feels about it, and ultimately whether they embrace it or push back against it, that's a little bit of crystal ball in terms of what staff engagement would have to partake there. But once that, assuming you get over that hump and get into the point where you have a regulation program in place, I think Adam framed it very well. It becomes kind of routine duties, and often where you'd probably see spikes is if you received a complaint and had to go out and spend some time working with that respective business on what the ordinance is and why it's there and kind of what the steps are in terms of overall enforcement, however that's framed up in a future ordinance.
Okay, and the last question from me, and then we'll open it up. Did you hint at the idea that the survey results would give us some idea of the acceptance and potential education that would be needed?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I'm not sure what the reaction of the community will be to this. I know there's been some initial engagement in other municipalities. There's been work by Penn State early on, but it's been a while. So I'm not sure what to really expect as we start talking about this, particularly from our business community. The larger retailers, the Walmarts of the world, I think they probably in some ways handle this easier than our smaller businesses. So I think that's where you might see some pushback. But yeah, it's really hard to tell at this point.
Okay, and we would have another look at it and shot at it after the results of the survey come in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
As far as our commitment goes. Okay. Others?
Hey, I have a couple questions. I know we're talking about not being able to look in a crystal ball, but I was just wondering, when they prepared the questions, did they maybe compare it to maybe a pilot that was a municipality or a township that was similar to ours?
Yep.
Probably so. I'm just wanting to know. So that we can have a little bit of, not that everybody would respond the same way because every community is different, but just wondering if they had a pilot that they modeled these questions in different viewpoints from.
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. And yes, throughout all of this, we've been kind of, the group, primarily the borough staff, I got to give them credit where credit's due. They've done the heavy lifting at this point. They have taken the time and engaged in other communities here in the state that have undertaken an ordinance and have utilized lessons learned to develop the framework and to put some of these questions together. In terms of how the feedback and responses in the communities have gone, I don't have a good answer for that tonight, Tracy. I'm not sure how that's been, and I'm guessing it probably varies by community.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that there's not a complete response to that, because every community and how they respond to different, is gonna be different. I just wondered if we had some type of metrics that we can kind of go by to see, like, even can tell, like, the level of staff involvement that's gonna take if we did adopt it.
I think that there's a total of 16 municipal ordinances in the Commonwealth.
Okay.
And Mike has referenced the fact that the borough staff has been in close communication with any number of those. And so, like he said, the lessons learned, I think, have been well taken.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. That's all I have.
I had a question. In terms of our economic development coordinator, is there any overlap or any role for input from our economic development coordinator? And to your point, Tracy, you know, I'm just trying to think about how the retailers look in College Township versus other municipalities in the region, and some might have more big box retailers. You know, could our economic development coordinator be of use in terms of how to get a really good survey response from our municipality? You know, that's my other question. What is going to be the N on this survey? If it's just an open online survey, is there a plan to push or engage, say, our coordinator to get this out and to you know, advertise it? So, because otherwise, if we don't get a representative sample from our businesses, we won't be able to represent them well if we want to continue down this way.
Yeah, and in that point, under stakeholders in the strategy, we've identified a bunch, one of which is Carrie.
Okay.
I recognize she's got the finger on the pulse of our business community here in College Township. So, yeah, it would be my intention as we have the discussions here in College Township, again, going back to staff time, of engaging with her and through her to the community.
Dustin?
Yeah, I just wanted to validate my assumption that it's listed in order that it's supposed to be completed, so that we would be, for example, be completing the survey for the business owners prior to having the public open house events.
Don't know that we've talked necessarily sequencing at this stage. We're throwing a strategy out there. I think there's a logical sequence to it, but I don't know that it's framed that way yet.
Okay, well, so I would just recommend that we have the business owner surveys at that public open house, you know, available for review.
And also have them on that website.
Rich, anything?
Yeah, I think we talked about it. Philosophically, how can you not, you know, not agree with it? Towards the goal of reducing waste overall in the landfill. My concern is the single-use plastic bags is just one component of a much bigger waste stream and everything. And then towards that, the prioritization, and I know you got to start somewhere, but I do think that this potentially impacts our smaller businesses more than some of the other ones and everything. And I can't forget that during COVID, nobody was upset about single-use plastic bags, you know, but, I mean, I get it, but I certainly I would want more feedback from who we represent. You know, I don't think we should be making this decision. I think we need to be, hear some directive and that it represents a good consensus of our residents and stuff, because that happens with a lot of things. We react to 10 voices, and there's 10,000 people in the township, so we have to be careful about that. The only comment I had is on the survey, need to de-borough it. There's several things that are not applicable to College Township, and some of the, looking at some of the questions and how they're asked, you know how surveys are, you know, you're going to get what you ask for, kind of thing. So we have to be careful of that. So,
All right, Mike, this is what I think I heard. We want to get the business survey and to the greatest extent possible opportunities for the public to comment early on in the process before we make any further commitments along the lines of public open houses and that. And it's been mentioned before, but accurate surveying is tough. Rich said you get what you ask for. There's real science to surveying. So to the extent that we can have somebody look at it, whether it's Carrie or whatever, and make sure we're asking the right questions. And then, of course, lastly, just a few cleanup typos.
Sure.
So if there aren't any,
Mr.
Tracy?
Chair, I'm sorry, may I say one other thing? I know 14 doesn't seem like a lot of questions, but one that does events and get feedback, 14 is a lot of questions for some people. They don't want to do that many questions. So if we can maybe take a look at condensing the questions and maybe merging some together, that would be effective too, because just from experience with students and faculty and staff, they don't like a lot of questions. More than 10, it seems too many. Yeah.
so get the information we're after early in the survey.
Yeah, yeah, what you really want. Yeah, just get to the meat of it.
And I don't know that we can do that. We're not survey experts. We can only
Right.
provide policy level guidance there.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is no real opposition to continuing our participation in this, at least until the point that we hear back from our residents and our businesses. Would that be fair?
Yes.
I mean, Rich is right. If I could snap my fingers and make single-use plastics go away, I'd do that in a second, COVID aside, because we never have to deal with that.
I agree.
Yeah, they're just nasty.
Yeah, the only thing that I would caution, and it's set up properly here, but I think it's important that for the College Township survey, that we explicitly make it very clear that we're exploring the potential of an ordinance that would restrict single-use plastics. And in concert with that, we have these questions about what kinds of impacts that they're going to have should we continue to move that way on your business. And while it alludes to that here, it's something I think that we need to make very clear, that their feedback is going to be really critical in assisting council in making this decision. So we're probably going to ultimately end up with a customized survey in each municipality, at least to an extent. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No.
The policy theoretically would potentially be the same throughout the center region or among the participants. But I do think that for the purposes of the data collection, that we may want to put a little bit of customization into this.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's more accurately reflects where we're at, where council's at in terms of policy as well. So yeah, I would not disagree at all. I believe you're right too, that we're going to see individually tailored surveys.
All right, going back to Adam's first suggestion before we lose track, any opposition to framing the survey with what Adam suggested? No?
I think it should be.
Okay. Rich?
Well, I was just going to point to number 8, just as one example. Which regulatory structure do you most support?
Yeah.
How about could you most support? And then also I would add the Bloom item on there. Do not. Yeah, it's just a subtle example of, how the wording and or presentation can skew.
All right, the action then was to receive feedback and guidance. Do you believe you got what you need?
I think we're good. I appreciate the thoughtful discussion around this. Obviously, at the next work group meeting, I'll have that discussion with them as well, and spend a little bit of time with the survey and be thinking about how to customize it appropriately.
Well, and I would say that I think I speak on behalf of council. We appreciate the time and effort that you've put into this so far.
Yes.
And I think we all, without question, trust your judgment in those areas that may not rise to the level of council feedback, impact, okay. All right, thanks, Mike. That's it for Old business takes us to new business. We have 3 items under new business. The first of which should be a quick one. NB1, changes to College Township's 457 retirement plan. It does require action. Don't know that we have a lot of wiggle room here, but do we want to hear from Kim first?
Sure. I'm presenting to council tonight Resolution R-25-26, which would amend and restate the township's existing 457B deferred compensation plan, our voluntary retirement savings plan that employees can contribute to with each pay. Currently, employees can only make traditional pre-tax contributions, meaning money goes in before taxes and is taxed later when they withdraw in retirement. Under the Federal Secure 2.0 Act of 2022, new guidance was developed for public employers through the IRS. When certain wage-based criteria were met, public employers are required to make Roth options available in the 457 plan to bring our plan into compliance and provide more flexibility to employees. This resolution adds 2 key factors. The Roth contributions made with after-tax dollars. The benefit is that future qualified withdrawals, including investment growth, are tax-free. This gives employees the choice of paying taxes now or later, depending on their personal circumstances. The in-plan Roth conversion will allow employees to convert their existing pre-tax retirement savings into after-tax Roth savings. The resolution would make these changes effective January 1st of 2026. It also directs staff to coordinate with Mission Square Retirement, who administers our plan, and with Keystone Payroll to ensure a smooth implementation of the process. We will roll out an employee education campaign well in advance so employees fully understand their new retirement plan options. We believe these amendments give employees greater control and flexibility in saving for retirement. They are consistent with public sector best practices and reflect the opportunities created under the Secure 2.0 Act. Staff recommends adoption of Resolution R-25-26.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt Resolution R-25-26.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion needed? Questions? Rich?
Just
Comments?
to fully support, I'm just curious now that we have an HR person, whether they were involved in these discussions since it impacts
Yes.
employees?
Yes, she was.
Okay, great.
Okay, Susan?
In support.
All right, just quickly, before we get off this, not related to this, Ross or slam dunk winner,
Right.
for sure. This is a good thing, whether people realize it or not. They'll realize it when they're 65, that it was a good thing. But it did remind me, how often do we go out and solicit proposals for the firms that we work with, like Mission Square?
We never have.
No.
All right, just to put a pin in that, because it's become a very competitive industry, and there's a lot of options out there that aren't as fee-heavy brokers' options. And it's not that easy, but I mean, it's something we probably owe our employees and those that we're providing this to get them the best deal. Not talking Ross, talking about the management of their funds and the options they have under that management.
Yeah, somebody had mentioned the involvement of the new HR specialist. Yeah, that's already come up as far as a future conversation. So those are things that as we now capitalize on having that position, that we're going to be kind of spreading our wings a little bit and have more capacity to do exactly those types of things. So, and you'll see something very similar with respect to healthcare and on down the line. In fact, we're contemplating at the moment our employee assistance plan at the moment. So there are any number of things that, first off, it's a target-rich environment. There's a lot that's out there to be reviewed, but we are beginning that process and kind of jump right into that.
It is an action, before I take action, comments from anyone in the room before Chair calls for a vote on the action. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kim. This is a good thing for the employees. That takes us to the second item under new business, MB2, the COG Parks Governance Committee recommendations, discussion, and again, possible action. Adam, your name is at the top of the memo.
It is, but it's only for a very quick introduction. The documents that are in front of you tonight, you have to the Center Region Park and Rec Authority Intergovernmental Relationship Agreement and an updated 1988 policy for accepting recreation and park facilities into the regional system. Both of those documents were referred to the municipality by the corresponding COG committee, which is Parks Governance, and we are to provide comments back to the executive director and Christy Owens, park director, by September 19th. So that's really the extent of my opening comments here. The documents kind of speak for themselves, but we also have expert in the room that has sat through many of these meetings. It's not Mike, but I'm sure that he can enlighten us on various aspects to the documents.
Before we let you off the hook there, is there anything that staff, caught staff's attention in preparing this to put into the packet?
There was nothing, there were no significant red flags that I saw.
Okay. Let's see, our expert in the room, who would that be? Oh,
Kathy Madison.
yeah, we actually have two experts in the room.
No, I'll help.
So you guys can tag team.
Sure, would love to.
You want to start?
Actually, we have a third member of the Parks Governance Committee in the meeting, in the room as well, Ms. Brandt. So we're really strong here today. Basically, hopefully I've done my job up to this point in laying out what's coming at you and seeing what that now looks like. I don't really have much comment on the intergovernmental relationship agreement, other than we don't have one.
Yeah.
There's nothing that governs the work. I was talking with Susan. I think a great example of this is what we did with Thompson Woods. You know, we just fought through that until we put a document that says, this is, you're responsible for this, you're responsible for this, this is how we're going to communicate, all this kind of stuff. And it smoothed things. In this case, I honestly believe a lot of this is memorializing how we're doing business now. But over the, especially recent years, there's been too many opportunities to interpret to your bias and everything. This helps us, helps staff and on all the people to, here's how we're working. And again, not forgetting that it's a living document. If it needs to be modified to current conditions or current shortcomings, then we should be prepared to do that and everything. So I don't really have a lot to offer on this. I can only share that COG staff was very helpful through this, and again, they've lived through it without this, so they're looking forward to having this. The other document, the Parkland acceptance, that replaced a 1-2-page document with a lot more substance. I personally think there's going to be a lot more discussion on that one going forward, especially when we get the technical comments back either from solicitors or managers or whatever, but it set us on a path, again, so that there isn't interpretation. This is how to think about these things and everything. So we're looking forward, the committee's looking forward to getting the feedback, formal feedback and trying to see where we can achieve good congruence with everybody. You know, you got a lot of different people wanting to pull in a lot of different ways, and it would be a 100-page document to try to capture all those in one. So I would definitely open the floor to my committee peers if they wanted to offer anything else.
Do you want to offer anything else? If you do, you'd have to come to the
No, I
podium.
think we've covered it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gretchen?
I think you covered it well.
All right, then let's take this in the two bites. The first one probably being the easier discussion. You know, basically memorializing our, what would we call this?
So the one other thing that I'd like to...
Intergovernmental.
Right, that I'd like to bring out is that we've attempted to have documents build upon each other. You know, we went with the matrix, and we've included those as part of this document, so that we're building upon each other. We've gotten to this, now we're looking at the bylaws, which will reflect this. The authority's bylaws should not be contradict, should support, should accentuate in the same areas and everything. So that was an underlying goal too, is that everything we build consensus to a point, and then now we're here for this one.
Okay, well, so does anybody have any concerns or suggested changes on that first piece? No?
No, I mean, that was my sentiment, right, that Rich had pretty much said it. It's how we do business now, it's just written and codified at this point. So unless there was something that we missed that you wanted to point to our attention, you know, that I missed in my review, that was drastically different in how we're doing business, I don't have any questions.
Good, and I don't want to downplay the value of this, even though it memorializes what we're doing, because Rich was pretty kind in his rationale for that, but every 2 years we get new elected officials who want to interpret it differently or don't know what the past practice is, so there's value in that. However it's written, there's value in it. All right, the second part? Again, this gets in a little bit more meatier stuff, but again, it's not, from my first look, it still is memorializing a lot of what we're doing somewhat informally now, isn't it?
I think,
Provides a lot more detail.
Yeah.
And
I think-
a substantive evaluation.
I think that both these documents tried to make order where there's currently chaos, or some degree of chaos, and they make good sense. Whether I understand the details and what you've endorsed as committee members, I can't pretend to know all of those details, but I trust that the work that you've put in makes it pretty clear that these documents will accomplish what you want to accomplish, which is being able to put these entities together to work towards common goals and solutions, which right now, just understanding it at the level I do, there seems to be some tension in trying to get to those goals at times. So these documents are really well done, and also create a great framework for other areas of the COG to model off of this. This is a complex set of entities doing complex work, and you've made the point many times, this is a substantial part of the COG budget and the municipal budget, so it's a great investment, so thank you.
Anyone else?
I just had one comment on this document about, you know, that's been a sticking point for me for a while with the acceptance of parks into the center region program is, you know, that deferred cost, if you will, from a municipality, right? And I saw that it's approached in E with a, you know, capital cost of one-time transition expenses may be negotiated separately. So, I mean, it kind of leaves it open-ended to that. But it also, you know, so that takes care of that one-time cost. But ultimately, and probably not necessarily in the realm of the parks governance, but, you know, I'd love to see us as an organization move towards some type of calculation in that, hey, you know, we have this many parks in our municipality that are managed by the center region versus us, who we are probably more majority managed our own, right? And the cost is not necessarily fair.
Potentially.
Yeah.
So one of the things that isn't good is that all the municipalities don't maintain the same.
Yeah.
And everything. But the other piece, and my peers have heard this enough time, we don't have toll booths on our parks. So we don't know whose residents are coming, what they're paying, all that, but they're regional. It's a regional asset to all of our residents and everything. I think I even brought out the Miller formula at the last meeting, and I said, Miller formula versus Cata formula, it's like 1% different. We could spend all this time sorting this all out and this and that and the other thing. And really, it just needs to be done and we move forward. And we pay what is calculated as our reasonable share. And the determination of that needs to be figured out.
I never thought I'd heard Rich defending that, but he did a really good job. Go ahead, Alan.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, the heartburn that has manifested itself to this point has been among my peers as managers, and typically up to this point, it's been a pretty straightforward process. If you have a park in excess of, I think it's 4 acres, it can be put into the system and it's kind of just absorbed.
Yeah.
And there isn't any calculation that Dustin had referred to, and there's no projection, and there's none of that. And that change, as is laid out in the document, the fact that there are additional steps to make some of those determinations has upset the existing structure. And so there have been some strong opinions that have been expressed by other managers relative to this structure. What remains to be seen and yet to be determined is what tangible monetary results, if any, that any of these structures are going to actually have. I do think that going through the process that's laid out here is extremely important and helpful, even if there are no upfront fees or back-end fees that ever get assessed by accepting a park into the center region inventory in the form of educating the elected officials about what the future costs are actually going to be over time. Because what is one of the things that we spend so much time on come budget time, discussing and debating and wringing our hands about, but increasing costs for parks maintenance and our regional facilities that are all the facilities that are managed by the Center Region Parks and Recreation. This could be an incredibly valuable tool just in educating future elected officials, being able to provide them with the documentations on the park ABC. Here is what was projected to happen, and everyone, it was known that when it was accepted into fold that these were going to be costs that were going to be ongoing. And I think it's very important that piece of it be retained, whether or not it has any initial or future impact to the donating, if you will, municipality from which a park is coming. I think there's a lot of value here.
Yeah, I was just jotting a couple notes. The one thing that I was thinking, so these don't have to be approved together. The policies, until the current policy is replaced, although I don't know if we found that it was actually adopted by the General Forum, but it's a piece of paper that's existed since 1988. So, and it was found like last year. But the intergovernment is the critical one, and this one can continue to move forward. But the one thing I was just thinking of is we could model. You remember when we did the sidewalk waiver, our score sheet and everything like that?
Yeah.
We could road test that policy on some pending park land.
Right.
And see how it would have influenced and whatever. And we might adopt some kind of DRI light thing, you know, if it's, you're allowed X amount a year or whatever, you know, that it's going to have a less than 10% or 5% impact.
Right.
Then, you know, boom.
Yeah.
So you could combine some of the existing structures and everything, but no structure is not good. Because it shouldn't be a secret that some municipalities are subsidizing other municipalities in the parks program currently.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this brings that transparency, right?
Yes.
Well, but I wouldn't be in favor, I'd be in favor of moving this forward, recognizing it's a living document, right? You know, noting that, you know, the governance committee isn't done now, right? You know, you're not folding it out, we're done, you know? You know, you guys approved it, we're out.
No matter how much we might want or wish.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, just you noting that, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, maybe we have another revision coming very quickly.
Sure.
Right, you know, something.
Sure, and a policy's much easier to update than agreement, intermunicipal agreements and everything like that. Same as one of the strategies we used is appendixes so that they could be updated. They're more readily updatable than the whole agreement.
So I think what we heard tonight was, by the way, those are two really good suggestions between Dustin's comments, Adam's comments, and your follow-up. So I think what we heard is their support moving those forward for the obvious reasons, and I think everyone respects the fact that there's going to be some give and take in the whole regional. Some areas you win, some you lose. But I think what I heard was general consensus support for moving this forward as is, because it is going to be anticipated living document, and will adjust as needed. But you did hear some sensitivity to, or at least some sensitivity to the current structure.
Or lack thereof.
The imbalance, we'll call it, between municipalities and regional and local parks. So at least we'll have a structure for moving forward with new parks online. And maybe at least through the transparency, I think what I heard was it'll become more obvious, that imbalance will become more obvious and maybe provide a motivation to further refine that. Did I miss anything? Are those, we don't need to take action, do we? I mean, we're just moving, we're just providing feedback.
Comment.
Just comments. I've got 4. We didn't really have any comments on the actual intergovernmental relationship agreement, although it memorializes what exists already.
And we support it.
And
We support it.
That's the comment.
We absolutely support it.
Right, support. I jotted down potential scoring examples that could be used with the park acceptance rationale that's presented here. The recognition that it's a living document can be adjusted moving forward, it's a policy. And it provides transparency and education at a minimum.
And it clarifies and simplifies. That's important.
I mean, I don't know if anybody has it, but any just historical context, you know, what was the last park to be accepted into the Center Region program? Do we know of?
Whitehall Road. But it was always.
Well,
it was
that's a
built that
regional,
way.
that's a different,
You mean a
we're
municipal
talking
park.
about.
Yeah,
So what was the
municipal
last
park that
municipal park?
transitioned over.
Well,
How long
it
ago?
would likely have been Patton Township Field,
Burnell Road?
thank you.
To Burnell Road. And so so the 1988 policy was not applied to that then, I'm assuming? Sort of just got absorbed to your words?
Just as handed down through the
Yeah,
ages, yes.
a gentleman's handshake, if you will, type of thing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly, it's a park in excess of, I mean, would you agree, Kathy, Burnell Road may have been the last one?
That sounds about right. It's been a while.
Yeah, and you know, Burnell Road Park has been there now for a number of years. That's likely, I will say this, that's probably the largest, most recent
Right.
park that has been accepted. There may have been some other, what I'll just casually referred to as pocket parks. Smaller, they meet the criteria, but they're smaller. It might have been into the program, but I would say Grinnell Road was one of the larger ones that would have been accepted most recently.
So, in that way of acceptance and not, applying the 1988 policy that was just dug up, right? So, did that go in front of the general forum, right? As kind of a, hey, we recognize that there's a budgetary impact.
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is.
Other
this
than
is
through the
ultimately-
budget, the money was
Right.
allocated
Yeah.
through the budget, and the budget was approved.
Right, yeah, I mean, so it was,
Yeah.
it was much
But it
more
wasn't
an
right there.
administrative type process. There really was, very, other than the budget process, there really
Yeah.
was no general forum involvement.
But so as proposed, right here, we have a couple more, very, deliberate steps, right? So, I mean,
And
that's
this is-
what I'm supportive.
Yeah, and this is in line with a lot of the budgetary stuff that we've been trying to implement, in that we're looking at, you got the today costs, but there's costs after. This isn't a one-time thing, and trying to look at parks in that same vein, personnel, okay, you hired them, well, now you're gonna keep them hired, or buildings, was a big one, that, okay, we're gonna maintain these, right? And that's gonna have a cost going forward and everything, so we've tried to improve upon those things at various levels, and parks is just the next example that it would be good at.
All right, and comments aren't due until actually after our next council meeting.
True.
So as we noodle on this, as I know we will over the next 2 weeks, if necessary under other matters, we can bring this up in 2 weeks if somebody has.
Well, or under committee reports, I could just ask if there's any
Okay.
updates, if that's
I
okay.
can, I mean, our comments are straightforward. They're very easy for me to put together the morning of the 19th and get them out and meet the timetable. So we can just we'll take the comments we have now. If there's
Put
more
'em
to
on
be
the-
add on the 18th, I'll add them to that, and then we'll capture them all.
All right,
Great.
very good. Again, Rich, thanks. This is significant. Janet, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I missed your committee report, didn't I?
There really wasn't one.
Oh.
We didn't have a quorum.
I knew that.
But
Hey,
I have
can
personal-
I ask you to stand up so that America can all of it?
I just have personal comments on the grid section for College Township. It's probably going to apply to the other townships when you get around to doing this. I'll pick on parking first. Fogelman Overlook, it's listed as neighborhood parking. That's been a bone of contention in that park from some of the neighboring properties at nighttime with lights and noise and you name it. So you may want a different term when there's parking like that, perhaps off-street parking. And then it goes further down Spring Creek Park, parking isn't mentioned at all. And then on down, you get to Thompson Woods, and it calls out 10 parking spaces. So look for a uniformity of something, definition for parking. Things that have been eliminated, Panorama Park, there's no longer playground equipment there. It's taken out about 2 years ago. Mentions restrooms. I don't know if you want to include porta potties or not, but there are some at Stony Batter and I think Daleview. Anyway, comments that apply, because I looked at College Township and thinking about what I remember at the different parks, probably applies across the board. And if you're updating something for future elected officials and people looking at this, straighten it out now.
Well, the collection of all this information was a major undertaking for
I bet it
staff.
was.
And everything, so we do want to get it right.
And I'm assuming in all my comments that things like benches, grills, and mutt mitts are omitted just because those are standard items that usually typically appear at parks. But I noticed that they don't appear either.
Well, one of the things I think we talked about, well, actually, this went to the municipalities. The municipalities helped with the construction of this. but maybe we need to do it again, push it out again.
Well, and that's just me being nitpicky.
Sure.
Don't ever go to a movie with me.
That's entertainment, this is not.
All right, thanks, Jen. So I think a couple of good points, some consistency in the categorization of the amenities at the park would not only be helpful, but would look good, would make the matrix look better. And I would offer, there are some parks that have both, if we should distinguish between bathroom facilities, between Job Johnnies and flush toilets.
Yeah, fixed or temporary.
Well, because ultimately it could be data that's referenced in any further policies, right, that you end up enacting.
That just bathrooms is a hot topic right now, at least amongst one very large regional park, so. One that has Job Johnnies.
Well, I mean, I've seen, in my 10 years, I've seen about 3 iterations of something like this, but nothing like this. You know, the leased and owned information, I mean, it was a huge addition to this and various other things. And I think it's going to be a great tool for staff, great tool for the municipalities and everything, and potentially our residents. You know, this could be a published item. Some of the stuff, they don't care who owns it, they just want it to be nice.
They do care about the bathroom facilities.
They do care about that, unless it's more convenient to argue in a different direction. But it's a tool that we should keep as accurate and consistent and everything, and maybe we need a definition page. But that was one of the things we've done on many. Actually, if you look in the intergovernment, that was one of the big things is we put that in there and we put it up first, because originally it was at the end. And it's like, let's set the standard first and then we can talk down through. So simple stuff like that.
Janet, since I neglected to give you the opportunity for your local or township parks report, anything while you have the podium?
Like I said, we didn't have quorum. We had 4 members present, which technically for our name membership is quorum, but we still on the books are a 9-member board, so it wasn't quorum, so we didn't do any action items. We did do some discussion, and that included an interest in what's happening now that Whitehall Park is open. So if you look at our agenda for next Monday's meeting, you'll notice that we're going to do our regular agenda items and then recess to Whitehall Park, hopefully to take advantage before the sun sets to see the park.
Yeah, I think it would be a worthwhile investment, especially for any members who haven't been there.
No, I haven't. I know probably other people have, but
Kathy's been there once or twice.
All right, questions for Janet? Brett?
Well, no, but now would be a good time to, while we have the grand opening for Whitehall is scheduled for September 24th at 3:30 p.m. So love to have a lot of folks attend, listen to our chair of the authority speak and tell us good things.
All right. Thanks, Rich. Thank you, Janet. I didn't make my self-imposed 8:30 deadline for tonight, but I think we can still bring it in reasonably close to that. Our last agenda item under new business is new public works position. Is an item that requires action. But before I entertain a motion, Adam?
Yes.
Anything?
Yeah, the memo in the packet, I think lays it out pretty straightforwardly. This is a continuation of a conversation that staff had with council as part of the capital improvement program. We've reached the point here in terms of employee capacity, the variety of things that we're involved and engaged in, about looking forward to adding additional personnel. And within that, and part of that, it also speaks to issues concerning future planning, right? Succession planning, if you will. for various positions. We had identified a number of key positions within the township that were going to be seen in all probability, retirements, people moving on in the course of the next 4 to 5 to 6 years. And essentially what is before you tonight is the result of one of those employee determinations. We have a public works road and water superintendent that is going to be moving on, not technically retiring, but moving on from long-time employment in the township next March, the end of March, and that is going to be creating a vacuum. We have an opportunity with the creation of this position that's before you tonight, which is, we've titled it a Public Works Technology and Operations Manager position that would be a direct report to the Public Works Director. But that position would have some capabilities of assuming a number of the responsibilities of the outgoing road and water superintendent. And so before you tonight is a anticipated replacement that we had contemplated at the time we had our conversations. Essentially what's been enclosed in the packet is a job description as well as a proposed salary wage range that I've listed here. That wage range will run a minimum of $83,111 to a maximum of $99,733. And the last piece of information is we do anticipate filling this position in-house. So I would be happy to answer any questions. Mike has worked very closely on this, as has Dawn and Amy, who's not here tonight. But we have pretty good consensus on the position, the duties, roles, and responsibilities for the position. And we have spoken to the individual that we would hope to promote into this newly created position.
I'll make a motion.
All right.
Yep, I'll make a motion for council to approve the job description and wage range for the Public Works Technology and Operations Manager position as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tracy. Any further discussion needed here? Questions on the proposed action? Before we take action, anyone in the audience, questions, comments, address council? Nobody online? All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
That concludes new business. Takes the staff informatives. Anything beyond what's in the packet that we need informed on? Any questions on staff informatives? Okay, that takes us to council other matters. I have one besides me. Does anybody have anything else?
Just one announcement.
Okay.
We're anticipating an ABC interview in an executive session prior to the start of the meeting on September 18th. So we have one position on the Water Authority to fill, and we do have an applicant.
Will we get that application?
We'll get that out.
Great, that'd be great. Thank you.
That was my only thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But no, thank you.
Stole your time.
Just looking here, is anybody going to have any, does that time present a problem for anybody? 6:30, 30 minutes ahead of the meeting here? All right. Now look for that email confirmation here soon, along with the applicant's application. That's cool. It just doesn't sound right.
Right.
Okay.
The applicant's application.
All right. Any other matters? All right. How about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. We are adjourned.